I don't remember ever wearing that shirt. Ethan repeated the sentence over and over in his head. But the bright red lipstick stain, there was no denying it. Ethan was an ordinary man. Nothing too special. He was a software engineer, worked from home most of the time, and usually only left the house for coffee or evening walks. He loved his wife, Claire, with all his heart, without a shred of doubt. They'd been together for 6 years, and Ethan believed he knew everything about her. But that morning, when he stepped into the laundry room to grab his usual blue shirt for a virtual meeting, he saw something that made his heart race. A white and blue striped shirt, one he didn't remember wearing recently, was sitting atop the laundry pile. And on the collar, a clear, unmistakable red lipstick stain. At first, Ethan thought Claire might have worn it while cleaning, or perhaps it was just stained detergent. But the lipstick mark was too vivid. And the scent, a sweet, alluring perfume. Definitely not Claire's usual fragrance. He picked up the shirt, brought it to his nose, and slowly sat down on the bench. His mind began to spin. Claire had been different lately. She'd been going out more in the evenings, claiming yoga classes or catching up with girlfriends. But every time Ethan asked who she was with, she brushed it off, avoided eye contact. 2 weeks ago, she changed the password on her phone. When asked why, she casually said, "Just for security." She used to share everything. Now she locked herself up tighter than a safe. That night, Ethan did something he never thought he'd do. He started spying on his wife. Claire said she was meeting her best friend Lily for dinner. Ethan nodded as usual. But once she drove off, he opened a GPS tracking app he had secretly installed in her car 3 days ago. The little dot on the map didn't move toward Lily's neighborhood. Instead, it made its way downtown. After 30 minutes, it stopped at Belvoir Hotel, an upscale discreet place, not the kind of place you take a friend for dinner. Ethan didn't call. Didn't text. He just sat in his office watching the dot remain still for 2 full hours. The next day, he called an old friend, Derek, a former private investigator. "Claire's doing something behind my back," Ethan said bluntly. "I don't want comfort. I want the truth." Derek agreed to help, and just 3 days later, he sent the first batch of photos. Claire stepping out of Belvoir Hotel, arm in arm with a tall man, wearing a leather jacket and a cap, his face partially obscured. Ethan's chest felt like it had caved in, but what truly shattered him was in another photo, where the man looked up at the camera. The face made Ethan drop his phone. Marcus. It was Marcus. Ethan's younger brother, the one who supposedly died 10 years ago. The nightmare had officially begun. Ethan didn't confront Claire. He pretended everything was fine, though inside he was burning alive. He couldn't believe his eyes. Marcus had died. Ethan had seen the casket. But the truth was, Marcus's body was never found. That rainy night accident, a car plunging into a river, left nothing but a wrecked vehicle and a few blood traces. The family held a funeral with no corpse. Everyone tried to move on. But if Marcus was alive, why was he here? And why with Claire? Ethan couldn't take it. He had to confront the truth. A week later, Claire said she had a client meeting in the II city over the weekend. Ethan told her he'd be visiting his mother. A lie. The moment she left, he followed her, kept a distance, stayed hidden. She arrived at Belvoir Hotel. Again. This time, Ethan didn't wait in his car. He booked a room and sat in the hotel's small cafe, waiting. 30 minutes passed. Claire walked in, black dress, loose hair, and carrying a purse. Then Marcus appeared. Ethan nearly dropped his coffee. It was Marcus. There was no doubt. That familiar face, even with a beard and a few more years, Ethan knew his brother. Claire hugged Marcus. They looked at each other like lovers reunited. Then they entered the elevator. Ethan didn't follow. He just sat there, frozen. Face pale as snow, An hour later, Derek messaged him. I investigated the man's identity. There's no one by. That name living in the city for the past 10 years. But facial recognition from your family records. 98% match. It's Marcus. Ethan drove home in the middle of the night, hollow inside. The next morning, Claire returned. Ethan waited for her in the kitchen. I already made coffee, he said. His voice was eerily calm. Claire smiled. Thanks, babe. Who did you meet at Belvoir Hotel? Claire froze. The coffee cup in her hand trembled. I met a client. Marcus is alive, isn't he? She didn't answer. Ethan stared into her eyes. You don't need to lie anymore. Claire let the cup fall. It shattered. And she cried. I'm sorry, she whispered. How long has it been? Ethan asked. 3 months. You love him? Claire was quiet for a long moment. I'm not sure anymore. I thought I had moved on. 3 months had passed since Marcus disappeared. The river had swallowed him. And this time, Ethan hadn't called the police. No body was found. No questions were asked. Claire didn't push for answers. She simply looked at Ethan with tired, glassy eyes and said, Is it done? And he replied, Yes. That was the end of it. They tried to move on, or at least pretended to. The house felt hollow. Every conversation short, every meal cold. Their marriage now a shell, held together by silence and shared memories neither wanted to touch. Claire no longer asked where Ethan went at night. Ethan no longer asked who she texted. They lived like strangers under the same roof. Then, one rainy afternoon, Ethan returned home to find 2 police officers waiting at the front door. Mr. Ethan Harper? Yes? You're under arrest for conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and aiding in the faked death of Marcus Harper. He froze. What? The officer handed him a warrant, and just below the signature line, filed by Claire Harper. At the station, Ethan was numb. He barely registered the questions, the documents, the interrogation room. Claire had told them everything about Marcus's faked death, about Ethan's involvement, about the fight at the bridge, and the drive home alone. She had even given them the flash drive. The same one Ethan had used to threaten Marcus. The same one he'd hidden in his locked safe. She'd found it, copied it, waited. When Ethan was released on bail, he came back to an empty house. Claire was gone. So were her clothes, her books, her perfume. On the kitchen counter, she left a single note. You chose to bury the past. I chose to reveal it. 2 weeks later, he received divorce papers. Her lawyer demanded the house, a portion of his assets, and filed a public claim of emotional abuse, citing years of psychological harm due to concealed crimes. She wasn't just leaving him, she was burying him. It became clear then. Claire had played both brothers from the start. She had known about Marcus. She had known Ethan helped fake the death, and she had waited for the right moment to burn them both to the ground. Marcus had stalked her. Ethan had lied to her. But Claire had survived them, outsmarted them, and walked away free. One morning, Ethan found a postcard in the mail. No return address. Just one sentence, in handwriting he knew too. Well, checkmate, signed C. Splash. The river swallowed him, and this time, Ethan didn't call the police. He stood there, breathing heavily, soaked in rain, heart pounding. He hadn't killed Marcus. Not exactly, but he had chosen not to save him. Again. When he returned home, Claire was waiting. You're soaked, she said, trembling. I handled it. Tears filled her eyes. Is it over? Ethan nodded. She walked toward him slowly, cautiously. Will you ever forgive me? She whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He just looked at her, and she knew. At 12:04 a.m., Marcus arrived. Leather jacket, Cold stare. A knife clipped to his belt, just visible enough to be a threat. Ethan stood under the lamplight, arms crossed. "You broke the deal," he said. Marcus smirked. "What deal?" "You signed away your identity, your name, your right to come back." "I had to. I didn't think you'd marry her. You left her. I left you a chance to protect her, not to steal her." Ethan's jaw clenched. "I didn't steal anything. You abandoned your life, and now you're harassing mine." Marcus stepped forward. "She still loves me." "No, she pities you." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "You always wanted what was mine. You were the quiet one, the boring one. And now you're pretending to be the hero?" Ethan pulled out the flash drive. "This has everything. The contract, the surveillance, the fraud." "And what will you do with it?" Ethan smiled. "Make you disappear for real this time." Marcus lunged. Ethan was ready. He stepped aside, slamming Marcus against the railing. The two grappled, slipping on the wet metal. Ethan wasn't strong, but he was calm, calculated, and this time, he wasn't the one who panicked. Marcus slipped. Ethan caught his jacket, held him for a second, staring into his brother's terrified eyes. "Goodbye, Marcus." Then he let go. Later, Ethan sent Marcus a message. "Meet me at the old bridge. Midnight. Come alone." It was poetic, in a twisted way. That's where it had started. That's where it would end. The next day, Ethan met Derek. "I need to bring him down," Ethan said. "Legally, cleanly. No threats, no fights. I want him gone." Derek sipped his coffee. "That's a tall order." "I have the document. I have proof he faked his death. He committed fraud, violated his own deal." Derek leaned forward. "What deal?" Ethan didn't answer. Not yet. That night, Ethan opened a safe hidden behind his bookshelf. Inside, a flash drive, an old burner phone, a locked journal, artifacts of a crime no one ever solved. He connected the drive to his laptop. Videos, audio files, photos, surveillance of Marcus. Bank transactions tied to fake IDs. And one thing more, a signed document. 10 years ago, after Marcus faked his death, he sent Ethan a contract, legal gibberish hiding a simple truth. "I, Marcus Daniel Harper, renounce all claims to any family, inheritance, property, or legal identity under my name. Effective immediately. This document is signed of my own will and with full understanding." Ethan had kept it, just in case. And now, it would be his weapon. Ethan helped him. They wrecked the car. Marcus left blood from a staged nosebleed. They dropped his wallet near the scene. Then Marcus disappeared, into the night, into another life. And Ethan? He consoled Claire, held her, protected her, loved her, and eventually married her. It was wrong. He knew it. But she needed someone. And he was there. 10 years ago, Marcus was in trouble. Deep trouble. It wasn't just gambling. It was debt. Serious debt. With men who didn't issue second chances. He came to Ethan one night, bleeding from the lip, limping, desperate. "They said they'll come after Claire next," Marcus whispered, hands trembling. "I can't let them touch her." Ethan didn't ask questions. He just drove. They sat by the river. Marcus smoked cigarette after cigarette, barely speaking. Then he said it. "What if I disappeared?" Ethan turned. "What?" "What if I made it look like I died, got them off my back, saved Claire?" "That's insane." "No," Marcus said, eyes wild. "It's smart. They'll stop looking. Claire will be safe." Ethan hesitated. He should have said no, should have dragged Marcus to the police, should have begged him to fight, but he didn't, because in that moment, something else entered Ethan's mind. Claire, beautiful, kind, loyal. She and Marcus had been inseparable for years. Ethan had watched them from afar, always the third wheel, always the shadow. But if Marcus was gone, it was raining again, just like the night Marcus died. Ethan sat in his car, parked near the riverbank. The water roared below, the wind slicing through the trees. It had been 10 years, but the place hadn't changed. Neither had the memories. He could still see the broken guardrail, the police tape, the search boats, and the lie that started it all. Ethan drove home shaking. His brother, no, the man who used to be his brother, was gone, replaced by a ghost wearing Marcus's face. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was war. That night, he waited in the alley behind Marcus's condo. Marcus arrived just after 10 p.m., carrying takeout. Ethan stepped out of the shadows. Marcus froze. "I know everything," Ethan said. Marcus didn't blink. "Then you know I'm not the villain here. You've been watching her. You lied. You manipulated her. Me. Everyone." "I did it for love," Marcus said coldly. "You wouldn't understand. You don't know what love is." Marcus smiled. "And yet she still chose me." Ethan stepped closer. "You think this is over?" "Oh, it's just beginning," Marcus whispered. Then he turned and walked inside. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, Ethan made a decision. He drove to the police station, but when he asked to report a decade-long case of surveillance involving fake deaths, false identities, and threats with no direct violence, the officer behind the desk looked at him like he was unhinged. "We need something concrete," the officer said. "A direct threat, a weapon, evidence of harm." Ethan left with clenched fists. They didn't speak for hours. Claire eventually fell asleep on the couch. Ethan sat in the dark, staring at the envelope, his mind reeling. This wasn't just about love anymore. This was control, obsession, manipulation, and it wasn't just Claire being controlled, it was both of them. There was silence, heavy, suffocating. "I tried to end it," she said. "I told him it had to stop, that I couldn't betray you, but he said, if I left him, he'd ruin everything." "Everything like what?" Claire walked to the drawer in the hallway and pulled out a manila envelope, handed it to Ethan. Inside were photographs, not of her, of Ethan, meeting with Derek, driving around town, sitting in the park alone. "He's been watching you too," she said. "He said he'd destroy you, that he'd make you look insane, that he'd—" Ethan held up a hand. "Stop!" The room swayed. The walls felt closer. His knees buckled and he sat down hard on the couch. "Why didn't you tell?" "Me?" he whispered. "I was afraid." Ethan drove home in silence. When he arrived, Claire was waiting on the couch, eyes red, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "We need to talk," she said. Ethan didn't sit. "I saw the storage unit." Claire looked up sharply. "What?" "I saw the photos, the records, the emails. How long has he been stalking you?" Claire's lips parted, but no sound came out. "You knew, didn't you?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't want to believe it. I thought he was just watching over me. That maybe he missed me. That it was romantic." "Romantic?" Ethan's voice cracked. "He's been following you. For 10 years. I didn't know how bad it was until he came back," she whispered. "By then it was too late." "Too late for what?" Claire stood. "Too late to stop myself." The nausea hit Ethan fast. His mouth went dry. For 10 years, Marcus had been watching her, not just hiding, not just surviving, but obsessing. And Claire had no idea. Unless... Ethan turned to Derek. "Do you think she knew?" "I don't know," Derek said. "But if she did, she's in deeper than we thought." The storage facility was in a run-down industrial zone on the city's edge. Rows of steel doors, yellow lights flickering above. Unit 241. Derek used a copied key and stepped inside. Ethan followed. At first glance, it looked like nothing. A few cardboard boxes, a duffel bag, a stack of old clothes. But then Ethan opened one of the boxes and froze. Inside were photographs, hundreds of them, all of Claire. Some old, some recent, some taken from a distance, others. Through windows, Ethan's blood ran cold. What the hell is this? Derek pulled out a folder. It gets worse. Inside were records, bank statements, fake IDs, burner phones, and at the bottom, a printed email thread from a man named Vincent. Tarot. Subject line: Payment received. Phase 1, complete. Who's Vincent? Ethan asked. I ran the name. Former private investigator. Lost his license in 2011 for illegal surveillance. Went off the grid after that. So Marcus hired this guy? To do what? Derek was quiet for a moment, then said, to stalk Claire. Late that afternoon, Derek called again. You sitting down? He asked. Yeah, Ethan said flatly. I did some digging into your brother's fake identity, Aaron Westfield. Turns out he rented a storage unit a few weeks ago. I checked the security footage. He's been in and out almost every night. What's he hiding? That's the thing. I don't know yet. But I got access. Want to come see for yourself? Ethan didn't go to work the next day. He didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't respond to texts. He sat in his office, blinds closed, phone on, silent. He stared at nothing, letting the weight of the truth press into him like 1,000 invisible bricks. Claire had known. She had known Marcus wasn't dead. She had lied. And for what? Love? Guilt? Fear? It didn't matter anymore. Ethan's world had collapsed. Everything he believed, the foundation of his marriage, had been built on a beautiful, calculated lie, and in that silence, Ethan realized the truth. It wasn't just betrayal, it wasn't just secrets, it was a game, and he was the one being played. Later that day, Ethan confronted her. He waited in the kitchen as she came home, set down her bag, and froze when she saw his face. You knew, Ethan said. Claire looked exhausted. I didn't. At first. But then you did. You knew he was alive. You knew the accident was fake, and you said nothing. Claire sat down. He begged me not to tell you. He said it would destroy you. You chose him over me? No, I was protecting you. Ethan laughed, bitter. Is that what you tell yourself? She looked away. Do you love him? Ethan asked again. Claire didn't answer. Ethan stared at the words, heart pounding. Claire had known. She had known Marcus wasn't dead. Maybe not right away, but eventually. And she had kept it secret. Why? The next morning, Ethan opened Claire's old laptop, one she hadn't used in years. The password was the same. Inside, he searched for old emails, old files. Most were irrelevant, until he found a folder labeled Private 2014. Inside, a string of unsent emails, all addressed to Marcus, some angry, some desperate, some full of heartbreak, but one caught his eye. That night, Claire didn't come home. Ethan stared at the front door until 2 a.m., the house dark and silent. When he finally went to bed, he didn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, mind racing. The betrayal burned, but something else clawed at him now. Doubt. Marcus had run away from criminals, had faked his death, had lived in hiding for a decade. But what if that wasn't the whole truth? What if Claire had known more than she let on? Ethan took a slow breath. And now what? You just show up and sleep with my wife? It wasn't supposed to happen, Marcus said quietly. I came back to see her. Just once. But when I saw her, everything came back. She's my wife, Marcus. Marcus met his eyes. And she loved me long before she ever said yes to you. The punch came without warning. Ethan's fist connected with Marcus's jaw, knocking him back into the couch. The glass fell and shattered. For a moment, neither spoke. Ethan's hand trembled. Marcus wiped the blood from his lip, said nothing. Ethan stepped back, chest heaving. "Don't come near her again." Then he left. Inside the condo, Ethan noticed it was sparsely decorated. A couch, a small TV, a few dishes, no pictures, no memories. It felt like a hiding place. Marcus poured them both a drink. "Sit." Ethan didn't. He stood by the window, arms crossed. "So?" he said. "Start talking." Marcus sighed. 10 years ago, I got involved with the wrong people. Gambling, debt, stupid choices. I owed money to some guys who don't take no for an answer." "I remember that," Ethan said coldly. "You told me you'd figure it out." "I tried. But when they started threatening Claire, I panicked. I staged the crash. Thought if I disappeared, they'd leave her alone. You let us all believe."
"You were dead?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "It was the only way." "For who? For you or for her?" Marcus looked away.
Claire avoided Ethan after their last conversation. She stayed out more often, barely spoke during meals. The silence between them stretched like an invisible wall, but Ethan had no intention of letting this end quietly. He waited until Claire left for work, then drove to the condo Derek had found, Unit 409. The name on the mailbox, A. Westfield. He knocked once, twice. Then the door opened, and there he was, Marcus, older, beard thicker, eyes more tired. But it was him. The two brothers stared at each other for a long moment. "You're supposed to be dead," Ethan finally said. Marcus exhaled slowly. "I guess I owe you an explanation." "You owe me a hell of a lot more than that." 3 days later, Derek called. "I found something," he said. Ethan met him at a diner off the highway. Derek slid a folder across the table. "This guy, your brother?" He disappeared for 10 years. No bank activity, no social media, nothing. But 6 months ago, he resurfaced under a different name, Aaron Westfield. Opened a business account, rented a condo downtown, all under that alias. Ethan flipped through the documents. Fake IDs, photos, receipts. "He's been careful," Derek continued. "But not careful enough. The trail starts in Brazil, then moves through Thailand, then finally back here. My guess? He's been running from something." Ethan looked up. "Running from what?" "That's what you need to find out." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He pored over old photos, news articles, funeral programs, anything that could tell him what he had missed. The accident had happened on a stormy night. Marcus had driven off the road, his car plunging into the river. No body had been recovered, just a mangled vehicle, blood on the driver's seat, and Marcus's wallet. The police ruled it an accident. Closed case. But now, Ethan began to wonder, what if it wasn't an accident? What if Marcus had planned it? And more importantly, why? Ethan had never been a violent man. He didn't shout, didn't break things, never once raised his hand to anyone. But in that moment, sitting across from Claire, staring at her tear-streaked face as the name Marcus echoed in his mind, he felt something inside him unravel. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, to force her to explain why the brother he buried 10 years ago was now walking hand in hand with his wife. But instead, he stood up, smiled faintly, and said, "I'll tell you what I know. But not today." Claire looked stunned. "Ethan?" He held up a hand. "I need time, and so do you." Then he left. But seeing him again, everything came flooding back. "You loved him before me?" Claire nodded. "He was my first love. The family forced me away after his death, and then I married you. I thought I could learn to love you. But—" Ethan closed his eyes. Claire reached for his hand. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just—" I'm lost. I didn't expect him to still be alive. Ethan stood up. I forgive you, he said. But you don't know that. I've known the truth for a long time. Claire's eyes widened. What? Ethan smiled. Not a happy smile, but the kind of smile that comes from holding on to a dark secret for far too long. I'll tell you the full story soon.